right, nice job. Good set. Let's do some social kick.
All right, Luke, what were you wanting to talk about? What's going on?
So many things, but we could talk about current events. We're talking
Let's talk about the bubble. We were talking NBA, talking about the NBA playoffs, and you were saying how in a bubble you think more things are controlled, maybe less cheats. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a bubble, it limited the access right in and out, and only authorized team officials and team associates and fan members can get in and out. So if you say have a special doctor that you go to for special things on the special side, and that special doctor is not legit, they don't have access anymore to that regime, But conversely, what about the special doctors that are legit, that are needed, that don't get that special permission to get into the bubble? And then I'm thinking about the ISL. Isn't the ISL going to like a mini bubble in October somewhere? And they're going to be I don't know the latest, but isn't it interesting?
Going to Australia?
I think so, right? I don't know.
That's what who told us it was going to Australia, but I haven't heard much about that in a while. That was a while ago. Was that Katie or Amy?
Yep, I haven't seen anything on any of the
Amy list. I think that was one of those two was telling us about that.
Is it even an actual enforced bubble though, or it's really an honor system, isn't it? They're not monitoring every athlete.
No, they are. They were playing ball. They were playing golf or something.
NBA, they are, right?
Yeah. The ball went beyond the line, and one of the guys went to go get a ball playing golf or something, and he got quarantined for 10 days because of that. Because he just went to go pick up a ball outside the line.
A basketball player or golfer?
A basketball player. And in Trinidad, we have the professional cricket league going on, and they formed a bubble in Trinidad, and they flew all the players in, and they stayed at the Hilton Hotel, and one of my friends is there, and they had armed military outside their rooms to make sure nobody came in and out. Outside all their rooms. It was and they sprayed you down once you got on the bus and got off the bus with like God knows what they sprayed your bags down with, but they spraying it down. So
get the hose.
It was just like that,
like a COVID delicing.
But it does restrict what you're used to in terms of needing to perform. The good stuff you're used to and the bad stuff, right? I mean, the team facilities are going to be all the same. The recovery, everybody's eating the same kind of. And then any illicit behavior that people are doing, they don't get access to it because they can't hide, right, as much.
Well, I think ISL, we'll see. I haven't heard much about them in a while, but they're not going to be having as much going on as the NBA, let's be honest, right? I know they put some bucks into it, but they're not going to be able to enforce this bubble with all this security or however they're doing it, right?
No.
Just going to be one big athlete hotel party.
Yeah, exactly. So
But Paul George did talk about his mental health and how it was really affecting him and affecting his performance. And I know the Restored podcast did a little thing on Paul George's mental health and how he's dealing with depression, being in that bubble. And I see that for sure.
That's got to be hard, especially during the warm months. As it gets into the fall, maybe either way, it would just be hard to be cooped up and not be able to go out and do anything.
Then again, somebody else said, I forgot who it was, like, I'm away for work. I'm traveling for work. That's what this is. And then like Chris Paul last night when they got kicked out the playoffs for Game 7 loss, he said, listen, it's a game. At the end of the day, people are dying on the streets and this is the game. And so it's really interesting how dynamic a sport now is shifting completely.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. We'll see. I can see both ways, but yeah, it's got to be tough for those that definitely have families. It's just, God, you have kids, you have family. Yeah. I don't know. It's got to be tricky, but we'll see what the ISL does. And I don't know. I keep thinking about 2021 Tokyo. I don't know. Is it going to happen? Are they going to try to do a bubble for that? I'm really questioning it. I mean,
yeah.
I think if we're talking about a bubble, it's not happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Why? Just the logistics of it, or?
Yeah, I think if there's because the Olympics is such a huge event, I can't see the Olympics going forward with no spectators. I think it's sort of a festival event and less so these other sports that have, the Olympics, of course, has huge TV revenue. That's why swimming is one of the most impacted sports for that reason. Not the last two, but I don't know what the time of day swimming happened in London. But in Rio, finals were super late to accommodate a TV schedule. In Beijing, of course, they flipped the schedule and had prelims in the morning, prelims at night and finals in the morning, and just to accommodate TV revenue. TV drove the whole thing. So I guess with this, what I was about to say was that I can't see the commercial aspect necessarily driving, the Olympics, and that they would make a decision based on the Olympics occurring because of the celebration around the people in the community. And, there's a lot of that would be lost. That's such a huge reason why, these cities bid and prepare all these bids 8, 10 years, 12 years in advance. So I think without that, it would really, I guess the flip side of that is if they just flat out cancel it, or delay another year. If they canceled it, then what happens to the investment for Tokyo? And I don't really know how you can make them whole. And so, hopefully they're not just like caught holding, I don't know, whatever. They're just like stuck with
the bill. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll see. I think they said they weren't going to delay it another year, but yeah, I don't know. And just like the little things, I forget who I was talking with another friend about just like the opening ceremonies. Like that's a huge part of the Olympics, obviously. But, if you're going to do this and say it happens and there's no bubble, but there's no spectators, which I think is an option. Like you're saying, Brian, I mean, that takes away a huge element and a huge part of this whole thing. I don't know. There's so many ins and outs with the Olympics. It's hard for me to see how it's going to happen. I'm
kind of glad it's not Rio or Greece or a country that would really struggle to afford it. Japan's probably struggling to afford it as well, but I could see them being the one country that could be quite innovative with all the stadiums that they built, being clever how they're going to use it and to recoup the loss better than the Athens of these worlds and the Rio of these worlds. So,
I don't think they make their money back from ticket revenue anyway. Yeah. Nowhere near, but without that, that's still a huge negative impact. And I just can't see it moving forward if it's not the full experience.
It'd be crazy. And I mean, I guess NBA, baseball, other sports are doing it without fans, but God, it's got to be such a weird environment if they do it without fans or something. But I don't know. I guess other sports, it's working better than I thought it might, or it's less awkward than I thought it might be.
You wait till NFL starts. So I heard an interview with Kyle Shanahan today, head coach of 49ers. And I remember hearing back in February and March, all the NFL greats like Ronnie Lott and these people on the radio saying, there's no way we really can perform without crowds. I mean, that's like the X factor in football. That's what makes us hit harder than we would in practice and blah, 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 blah. Well, so we're now having NFL without fans, right? And Shanahan said, well, just today I started to get some insight how this is going to be done. Because when you think about home field and advantage of noise, right? So that the O-line gets confused. I mean, and you can't hear, and the defensive line can react better and because of the noise levels, and they can't hear the snap count, what have you. What are you going to like play loud music sometimes and then no music at all? And how loud it is and how loud it's not? And Shanahan said that it's decided that they're going to have a decibel range for how they play their sound, and they're gonna press record. Sorry, they're gonna press play for a soundtrack at the beginning of the game, and it's like play at the same level as about 70 to 75 decibels for the whole game. It's not gonna be like and then quiet and then peace and up and down. It's just gonna be the same level throughout. And at that point, what happens? You just get numb to it, right? So that's going to be odd, even more odd, I think.
All right, which swimmer would get the loudest? I guess in swimming it's different. Would you want louder cheers or less loud cheers for you? Which swimmer would be programmed for the loudest cheers? If that's a good thing at the Olympics, we have no fans. It's like American Idol style. You're sending in your votes for your decibel number to go up for cheering for them.
Well, if it's NBC, I think they just index Rowdy's voice. Let him commentate.
Holy smoke!
With that.
Hey, how close are we to Robot Rowdy, by the way? I feel like you just throw in the names of the athletes and, breathing to the left side. Look at that reaction time. We can build like Robot Rowdy pretty easy.
Don't hate on Rowdy. Don't hate on the Auburn guy. He's great. But I think that it could be that what? Yeah, I mean, we've all swum at last chance meets and stuff. You guys swim at last chance meets, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's something that, swimmers don't necessarily rely on the noise. I think they need to change the environment though. So whereas like for some of these bigger meets, it's a clean deck and you've got media and stuff out there, but you don't necessarily have the athletes there. The athletes might be in the stands or your team's kind of separated. So if anything, like NCAA's conference meets are really great because it's such an intimate atmosphere and you could have the crowd and the crowd's cool, but I think that you could still have the same type of energy if the teams were right there. A little bit harder to do with a national team, but I think if everyone went into it knowing that this is going to be the environment, and instead of having the team area set up over by the massage tables and then the warm up and warm down area, if instead you said, okay, we're going to approach this differently to create the hype. Team area is going to be in the team area. You still take care of your stuff, but we're going to try to make it as much about the team as we can. I don't know. That might be kind of cool.
That's what ISL did. You didn't hear the crowd noise from the ISL. You didn't hear one say it. You saw the audience, the teams get crazy in skins, and you heard the DJ and the music, but you didn't really hear the crowd noise, did you? I don't know.
No, I hear you. And I think, Brian, you're right. It's just like the last chance or get out swims or whatever. I mean, people go up and go fast and have internal motivation driving the factor quite a bit, or even their peer motivation, right? And I'm sure there's some athletes that the crowd and all that does the trick, but I don't know. There's still a gold medal on the line. We've heard from a lot of athletes, gold medals is where it's at. Who needs a world record, right?
They can't take that away from you.
Exactly. Speaking of skins, so Dressel's been doing all his race dissects. Either of you guys watch the skin dissect?
Yeah. Did you see it?
No.
Well, what do you think of it, Luke? You want to talk about the skins dissect that Dressel did?
I mean, a lot of it, I think I knew that he had done harder work in practice. He was prepared for it. Troy had done a harder set than this with him a few times, so he was prepared for the pain. What I didn't realize was his game plan and how he went into the game plan of how he was going to do it, how he was going to progress through the rounds, with especially how he was going to attack the breathing and how that affected the stroke. So that's what I learned about how Dressel attacked it. But then again, you can't apply that to just everybody, because Dressel had a really good chance of making it all the way to the end. So he had a game plan for that. Some people couldn't game plan their first 50, and assume they're going to be in the top. So his game plan was breathe every other stroke for the first 25, head down, come home. That's the first 50. I believe. No. Breathe every two.
The whole 50.
First round.
For the whole 50 first round, yep.
And then the second round, breathe every 2 for the first 25, head down the last 25. And the last round, no breather. No matter how hard it takes. If he passed out at the flags, he passed out at the flags.
And it was interesting. And like you said, not everyone has the luxury of breathing every 2 and getting second in a field like that. Yeah, went 21-3. Yeah, I don't think they actually showed the time since he didn't win, but I think MA, as he called him, went 21-2 and won it. So pretty amazing. And it was interesting him talking about how, and I'm sure, Brian, you can relate, he was trying to do a 50 stroke, breathe in every stroke, and how that's way different than 100 stroke, and kind of how sloppy it got. But
trying to perfect that. He says he's not able to do that yet. That's what he's really working on now. Maintaining that 50 stroke, but getting a breath in once or twice.
Oh, because he wants to incorporate a breath into his 50?
Or no, for the skins, for that first 50 of the skins, just so he could have enough air for the other 2. Yeah. So he's like, I was trying to do a 50 stroke, but breathe every stroke so I could get enough oxygen. And he said he was saying how bad it looked and all that.
It's because and what was affecting him mainly is that he was overreaching his right arm a lot. He was doing straight arm. He doesn't like how straight arm is for him because it relies too much on his legs. He says he's a terrible he doesn't like to, he comes over here, but he likes to break the elbow at the top point. And when he gets tired, he doesn't do that, and that cuts him short, and that makes him wiggle a lot and bob his head, especially. So his head was bobbing. He was cutting it short. He was going too straight arm, 3 lines on his legs. And when he put his head down and he didn't breathe, he was able to maintain that, fling out the back, break the elbow, come in really nice, and grab water and maintain that length.
John, what do you think about the oxygen deprivation piece of it? So, because I remember at least learning that 20 seconds or so was about how long it took for any oxygen deprivation to actually affect, your musculature, and so, or your muscular output, I guess. So what are your thoughts on that and its impact on recovery? Because, if you're talking about like breathing every stroke or doing the second 25, no breath, in that second 25 only takes 10, 11 seconds for a guy like Caeleb. What are your thoughts on, like, is that actually impacting him one way or the other, or is it just, in his head?
No, I mean, I think the current thought is that 15 to 20 seconds, closer to 20 is what most people can go before it does start to affect them physiologically. But once again, a lot of these studies are not done in like elite athletes. So I bet you it's actually a larger window than that 20 seconds, especially with swimmers that are so used to kind of doing stuff without breathing and things like that. So I think on like a skins race, getting oxygen early is huge. And I think for anything 100 and things like that, getting oxygen early is huge. But I know like his strategy of not breathing like the last 25 on a 100 fly and like at the last 10 meters of most of his races, I think that makes total sense. It's just, man, the psychological aspect of it and the I don't know, just the pain of it, and that all could be, you could say, is all psychological, is where it really gets tough.
Do you think, though, that, I would say if we all hold our breath for a 25, you know what you feel like after that, especially under full exertion. And that feels very different than a 25 at pace, but you're breathing, or at least a little bit different at pace. And so are you saying, though, that like whatever it is, I saw like a 3 minutes to recover after the in between efforts, so there is no difference, or to what there is no real physiological difference between breathing on the way home and no breath on the way home by the time that the starter goes for the next 50?
No, I mean, you'll need to refuel. I'm not sure off the top of my head how long that regen takes, and it's probably quite individual, but I think the best strategy. And once again, the ISL is tricky because you got to move on, right? If it was just 3 swims and you didn't have to worry about beating anyone and it was just like cumulative time, that's one thing. But it's also about beating people. So theoretically, you might need to sacrifice your third swim to be better at the first one to move on. But I think, in all honesty, if we're looking for like the best 3 on average to all be around the same pace, probably breathing almost – like Russell said, his strategy is not bad. I might say you might want to breathe every stroke for the first 2 and then go no breath on the last one.
John, what about when you touch the wall? I always debate when I touch the wall and I'm dead tired. I know as soon as I can get moving, I can flush my system out. But at the same time, I so want to get oxygen in me. So I we seldom ever push off the wall and do freestyle, because even breathing every stroke is still, you're not able to breathe and get oxygen as rich in. So you do backstroke kick and try and get your air back. Is it more important to get your air back in as much as possible after you exert yourself to recover, or flush out the system by moving? Or you got to mix it 2 up and do like a backstroke kick as you finish a hard 50?
You got to do both. You got to move. You got to breathe. I think you could do free and still get enough air in just with a long breath. But, I mean, you can still do double arm backstroke. You just got to keep moving, and that should be the best thing. But once again, when we're getting to this, level, so much of it is psychological. Obviously, we can look at millimoles of lactate and go off of that, but those are still just estimates of overall work and fatigue. And say someone is 8.0 millimoles on one race, and then they're an 8.1 on the other one. How much is that going to change or impact is really hard to say for the individual, if at all.
So what is the right choice then for like a elite sprinter versus, a mid-D swimmer, and how they warm down?
Yeah, I mean, so if you're building up your lactate, you're building up your hydrogen ions, all this metabolic waste, the same goal is going to happen, where you just got to bring it down, flush it out of the system. So most distance swimmers aren't going to.
I'm asking you, what's the best way to do that for each of those?
Well, I think it's individual. I mean, most distance swimmers aren't going to be anywhere close on the millimoles of lactate as a sprinter. right? They're going to be at like 4 or 5 at the end of a race versus what Nathan tell us he was at like 20 something. So the bigger you are, the more breakdown, the longer you're going to need. But most of it will still be at a similar pace, which I think is like 60, 70% of VO2 max pace is what they kind of recommend for kind of a warm down pace.
Okay. So part of my question is around doing a lot of slow swimming in warm down, typically, or cool down, wherever you're from. And but I remember having Greg Troy ride a warm down for me once, and it was a lot higher pace, and it was 20-50 short course meters on like 45, I think. And so, after a 100 free or 50 free, I was pretty, touch and go on that. And I remember thinking after 20 of them that I still felt like, it was carrying a lot of lactate and, didn't feel cooled down. And so, and that made me think like, well, that's something that worked for Ryan.
Sure.
To be able to swim down at that pace. But for me, I felt like I needed to go either a slower pace, or if I wasn't going a slower pace, I would have had to do that for a lot longer, I think, to finally cool down.
Yeah, probably. I mean, and I haven't seen anything with, pace differences between, different, types of swimmers or type of athletes and things like that. But you probably just, let's be honest. Ryan and Michael, that's one thing that made them so great at their repeats is that they were able to swim so fast without totally wrecking themselves, right? Their lactate, I would imagine, was only maximum like 10 at the end of like a 200. Where, like we said, we had Nathan and you and probably most sprinters are up in the 20 range, where it's just like, I don't think it goes 1 for 1, but we'll just say it for simplicity, is twice as much, warm down or recovery that you'll need.
Is there anything that you can do to improve that, I guess?
I think training and just tolerance and trying to be able to stay relaxed, but being able to create lactate and all that theoretically is good. It means that you're able to, create so much power. It's just with swimming, unlike other stuff, you can create power, as we know, but it's not, propulsing you more. Just working harder doesn't always result in swimming faster. So that's where I think those guys are so good, because they could create so much forward propulsion, but still do it somewhat relaxed or somewhat just not killing themselves.
It makes you wonder if that's sort of the secret to being able to hit multiple events at, full max and, not only full effort, but at full speed and output in the same session, or 20 minutes apart, 40 minutes apart.
Big time. Big time. I think that's a big part. And I don't know. I think with swimming, it's so unique, just like I said, just because it's so technical and not so much just about pure power, pure exertion, or we'd have a bunch of bodybuilders in the water. So that's where it really becomes so interesting that you can have these guys like, Michael, who, you could say have no power production out of them, but he could still put up a great 100. Which is still considered a sprint event, right? And he had the American record for a while. And you could say I don't know what he was doing in the weight room and this, that, but I would argue he was not throwing up heavy stuff ever and didn't have, the type of muscle architecture that would be similar with a lot of power land athletes.
Yeah, right? Certainly not with power land athletes. He seemed to get a lot bigger in his last year or two.
Yeah,
maybe the tan. It's probably the tan.
Must be the tan. You got it. But I don't know. You mentioned Greg, and I don't know, made me think of college swimming and what's going to happen with everything going on. Luke, you're saying another program got cut as we
I just reported from that William & Mary are cutting 7 sports, including swimming. I think that's like 9 Division I schools now going. The biggest one was, of course, Iowa, right? That was big news for us. They just built a brand new pool like 10 years ago and just refurbished it a few years ago as well. That NCs in 2015, have NCs next year were to be planned there. It's big.
Crazy.
They were a pioneer in swimming. They were one of the founders of Butterfly, their program, or they have links to the founding of Butterfly from that program.
Butterfly with the breaststroke kick?
No, Butterfly from breaststroke.
Oh. Huh.
So one, I forgot the name, but one of their coaches decided that it would be a lot faster to recover over the water doing breaststroke as opposed to recovering under the water. And then eventually got turned to butterfly. And it debuted in the 36 Olympics. An American guy almost won it doing a butterfly stroke for some of the 100 breaststroke. And Iowa were one of the schools that did it from the 1920s. It's interesting.
Huh. Oh, okay. So yeah, so they did. What about how it evolved from breaststroke kick? Not to take the attention off of Iowa. That really sucked.
That does suck.
You know, I want to go into stroke evolution stuff, but
Let's do it.
Well, so I don't know how I transitioned from a breaststroke kick with a butterfly pullover into doing it with what we know today as a dolphin kick into full blown butterfly.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm seeing in the 30s is when it let's see here, started to transition to, like Luke was saying, that kind of above water recovery. Let's see. I'm not seeing though.
That happened on the cornfields of Iowa.
Yeah, so
According
David,
to Luke, I'm not seeing that, but
David Armbruster, swimming coach at the University of Iowa, researched the breaststroke and especially considering the problem of drag due to the underwater recovery and suggested you'll recover over. And Henry Myers is the first guy who did it in 1933, and in 36, American kid. A Japanese guy won it in 36 in Germany, but an American guy almost won it. Won 100 breaststroke, swimming a couple of the laps over the water recovery.
And then in 52, what I'm seeing, that's when FINA allowed a dolphin kick, and butterfly, I guess, was officially creative, as we see it today. So I guess FINA had a rule that you had to do a breaststroke kick with the recovery, however you want, and then switch to that in the 50s.
But 103-year-old legacy. I mean, that's a long time to have swimming in Iowa. I mean, they went through the Great Depression. They went through a lot, and for them to cut swimming. I mean,
I say I'm in a Big Ten school, so I mean, it certainly hits home where you think, you know, these Power 5 conferences are going to be safe with their sports. They have the football programs and all these TV deals that are going to make money, but obviously if football's on hold, I don't know. No one's making money. And I don't know. I mean, and you could argue it's not about the money, or there's other things, or this has been on the
John, in 1 year, they didn't have the savings. They couldn't buffer 1 year of reduced funding. That's crazy. And swimming.
Well, it's the same thing about Stanford, who's got the biggest endowment in the world. So,
and they cut all the program, like 6% programs. Yeah.
If they're doing it, then it just shows swimming's not a priority. John, do you remember swimming at Iowa at all? Dual meets? Did you guys
at the old pool? So I never the new pool finished up, I think, the year or two after I finished. But I remember swimming at the old pool where supposedly the bulkhead was stuck at 25, so they couldn't move the bulkhead. So it was a special place, but not the worst pool in the Big Ten, I'd say. But yeah, I don't know.
The Big Ten,
Michigan State, where I had it was such a bad pool. I had a pool record there on a relay. That's how bad it was that no one swam fast to that pool.
Does Michigan State still have a swim team? Sorry, no offense. New Michigan State.
That they do.
Wow.
And in Iowa, it was interesting. I mean, Iowa, so when I swam, I want to say they were maybe like, and I think the Big Ten had actually 10 men's teams when I swam. And Iowa was getting maybe 8th or 9th when I swam. And then they had the new pool built, and then they bumped up to 3rd or 4th one year, and they had maybe a ton of trials qualifiers come. But then it started to fade, and they couldn't keep that momentum going. It's interesting how, you know, with college swimming, I mean, you have those certain teams where it's hard for them to move, or they're, you know, at the top and all that. But, you know, Iowa, they had their wave, they had the new pool, they got into maybe the top 3 or 4 of the Big Ten, and then it fizzled out. And makes me think of, and I'm biased here just because I was in that time and in that conference, but Northwestern too, when they had obviously their super stardom with Grievers and Alexandrov and Bublos, and they, you know, were at the top of NCs, but they couldn't build the team or sustain it there.
Mm-hmm.
But crazy about Iowa, I mean, and that's a big football school. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure how all the football payouts are done, but, you know, I think part of what programs get paid is obviously the conference gets stuff, but also if they make conference games and do all that, and they've been in BCS games, in championship games. I mean, they're not always up there, but they're regularly a good football team.
So if we do have NCs next year, we don't know where they're going to be held, and these things are normally decided like 4 years in advance. Where would you guys dream?
Well, it's supposed to be at Iowa, right?
Yeah, so now it's not going to be.
So it's supposed to be Iowa.
But they still have a victory lap year. So they get to compete this year if the meet exists. So wouldn't that be quite a victory lap to say, okay, we got one more year, NCAA's at our pool, and then
No, they're moving it. It's not going to be at their pool anymore.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. Where would you guys have NCs? Where would be the sickest place to have NCs?
In America that has a college?
Yeah. I guess it has to be America. It has to be college. It has to be Division 1. Because otherwise, I would say go down to Chile and be in that 100-meter pool on the beach. That's cool. Anyway.
I don't know. Miami. Something where it's warm. Do it outside.
Miami, Ohio?
No.
I would an outdoor meet would be good. I like outdoor meets, but it has to be warm, not Northern California rainy and 40-degree outdoor meet.
Miami would be warm by the end of March. What do you think?
I think so.
Yeah. It's just weather. It's just storms coming in, and it's unpredictable. So it might get delays and all that.
One thing that I've always thought is weird about swimming in the U.S. is that there's never really any big meets in New England. And I don't know why. I mean, I get that it's, East Coast, but there's East Coast meets. And then, it's just, you've got them in some of the hubs. You've got them in Southern California.
You need stands. You need stands to host 1,000 people. And what are some of the pools in Northeast? Harvard has a nice pool, but they don't hold 1,000, maybe 400.
I don't know. Is it just that there's no great pools in the Northeast? Maybe that's it. I mean,
it's the facility. It's the stands. It's the
2004 was the last time that they had NCAAs at, even in that region, and it was in New York.
We're at Nassau?
Yeah.
I think part of it is the stands, the venue, but I think it's just getting to it. I know Californians for like juniors and stuff feel like they don't get enough meets in California, and it's just because, they don't always want to have a meet on the other coast because they think it reduces the amount of people that can get there. And I guess NCs is different. If you're going to NCs, you're going to go no matter where it is, right?
I mean, NCAAs have started to trend in the direction of put it in the middle of the country-ish. Atlanta has Atlanta, Texas, Ohio State. They have done Federal Way, a couple times. So that's the anomaly. But I mean, a great venue there, Indy. So I think they're in favor of putting it somewhere that's central so that the flights aren't crazy for any team and there's no, huge time zone changes, which totally get that. But
it's the same in Canada. In Canada, I never swam 9 nationals in British Columbia. And Vancouver and Victoria has such fantastic facilities, but it was rare. They do have them, but it's so rare. It's always in like Toronto or somewhere in Ontario or somewhere. Yeah, I get it.
So is it going to happen, though?
I can see that happening more than I can see Olympics.
I don't think so.
No, next year, 2021, March.
We're talking March of 2021, right? I don't see it happening. I mean, I hope so, and we'll see. But I mean, college kids are getting sent home left and right. Every school's having 1,000 cases, or maybe not 1,000, a couple hundred cases, right?
And how terrible is that? How many seniors out there are going to break out here? Look what Nathan said when he was doing the promo for Daniel, talking about Reese's going to have a fantastic year. Daniel's going to crush it at NCs, Qual was going to crush it. And now they don't get the opportunity.
So I wonder, if they don't swim any of the NCAA competition, then automatic redshirt then, right? Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, that's what Texas
I think so. But I mean, not everyone's planning on sticking around, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And would you, right? Yeah,
exactly. But what I'm intrigued, God, imagine the scenario where NCs and not many of these meets happen, but trials happens. We're going to see so many surprises because we haven't had a meet in like a year and a half, and already trials has so many surprises, right? It's going to be a cluster, a great cluster. I love 15-year-old or no name so-and-so doing this at trials, but I mean, it's going to be wild.
Yeah, but one of the secrets to U.S. swimming is NCAAs. That's the biggest advantage you guys have over any other thing. So you don't have it this year. How does it affect the Olympic cycle too? You know?
Well, I think it's less about the competition in the NCAA, and it's more about the environment and the training programs.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And I mean, the average age of the men's team, both team, men's and women's, has been steadily rising just as people stay around longer. So, I mean, every year we still have current college athletes on the U.S. Olympic team, but they're becoming fewer, whereas it used to be nearly 100% of the team. As soon as college was over, you're done.
You know, I was thinking about that because, you know, we all got labeled rightly so old men on the podcast by another old man who labeled himself in that promo. And I was trying to think, well, all the guests we've had on have been, a lot of them are current national teamers. And Daniel Carr will be the youngest guest that we've had on. He's 22. 22. That's not that young when you think about it. I mean, we haven't had, how many under the age of 20 are there swimming a national team in the States? Smith.
There's a handful of girls.
I
don't know the national. BB Bacon, the whole 100 backstroke. There, a bunch of youngsters there, and then the men have what, maybe 2?
That's crazy.
3, something like that.
As opposed to retiring.
Orlando and probably a few we can't think of, right?
Right.
Yeah, all the way through the top
Carson
6.
Foster.
Yeah, there's a few, but yeah, probably more on the women's side.
Speaking on the other end, I just said I like to be surprised by people and the youngsters. Ryan Lochte, is he making it if it happens in 2021?
I'm going to get him a beer for that one. Excuse me. I just had the one I don't like. I'm going to have one I like. Excuse me.
Obligatory. Yeah. No, I don't think so. I don't think Ryan gets on the team.
What do you think he's going to swim at trials? 2 free, 2 IM?
2 IM, 2 back. You think he's going to do 2 back?
I don't know. I feel like I don't think so. I think 2 IM, 2 free.
2 free.
I think so. Just relay shot.
What do you think it takes?
147 mid to get on.
Did you just answer his question before he even asked it and you weren't even in the room?
Well, we asked the guest, what is it going to take to make the 2 free? I think we said was. I mean, there wasn't a 2 free.
What, the relay? Are we talking relay?
Yeah, what's it going to take to make it?
No, we were talking about the 100 free
with Nathan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we let in the audience question about which
who he wants on it.
Absolving us of that. But yeah, definitely faster than 147. I think it'll be. But the 200 free just hasn't progressed very much. I could still see 146 2.
I was gonna say 5, maybe.
You think it's gonna be 146.5? That's crazy that it's not faster than that. The way the 100 free has progressed.
Well, that's the thing. 100 just, I mean, there's so many guys in the 100. I got to sit down and write all the 200 guys and who's going to be up there in it. I don't know. Hopefully it's faster. Hopefully 146.0, 146.2, like you're saying. But even that's not, like you said, in comparison to where we were 8 years ago, 12 years ago. Yeah. I mean, obviously there was suits and all that, but the 2 free is stagnant across the whole world, though.
Yeah, it's a bizarre event. That and the 4 free, both of them.
Yeah.
They've just been stuck for a while.
Especially with where, and as we've learned, I mean, yard swimming doesn't always correlate with long course, but I mean, God, 200 free yards had so many progressions and people will go in so much faster.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just a matter of time before we see that 2 free yards progression find its way into the big pool.
Yeah. See, I don't know. We'll see, but that'll be an interesting one. And I don't know what it's going to take on the men's side. And then even the women's side, I'm not sure what it's going to take there either. And another one that's been more or less stagnant since Pellegrini. I mean, I guess Katie dropped it down, but I don't know.
Yeah, it still seems like 157 is enough to get on the team.
Yeah, exactly. I think other than Ledecky, which is the outlier for all these things, it's been about the same.
Right. Women's 100 free, kind of stagnant. I just watched that video the other day of Libby Lenton. No, was it Libby Lenton? No. It was
Trick it.
Was it her? Was it her who broke the world record but didn't?
Louis Linton.
Yeah, it was in that duel in the pool against Phelps.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah, when the co-ed race,
7 or something. Yeah, and then what a crazy thing that has to feel like to break a world record, but you didn't.
No kidding. With something that I think all of us would argue is, yeah, maybe swimming with a little drag could help out, but come on. I mean,
I guess watching the race.
How much help is it getting you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, so probably some a little bit. Then they probably didn't help it too much because in the commentary they were talking about how she was riding Phelps' wave and catching a draft. But then, toward the end of the race, once the separation happens, is that impacting her negatively?
Also,
she's stuck in the wake. So it all washes out.
I swim next to you every day, Brian. I know very well. It does.
Wait, you two swim every day?
No, you know what I mean.
I don't swim every day. Next time we're doing butterfly arms with a breaststroke kick.
Well, to get back to that topic,
that would be my worst event of all time.
Braden Keith was reported today that the very first gold medal awarded in 1956 Olympics to the dolphin butterfly event, the gold medalist died today. Bill Yodak, and he went to the University of Toronto at one point, so kind of Canadian school. But yeah, he died. He was a 200 flyer at the Melbourne Games. So that's interesting. He did his training in a 20-yard pool. So I mean, to Bill Yodak, dude. I mean, one of the first American grade 200 flyers. The first American grade 200 flyer, in fact.
They called it a dolphin butterfly event?
Dolphin butterfly. The men's 200 fly, then known as dolphin butterfly, made its first appearance after this contentious separation from breaststroke. But the 100 fly didn't arrive until 1968. So the first fly event was a 200 fly. That's kind of like, you guys want to swim fly?
It was 200, not 220. Because there's those years when it was like 220 and all these things.
Well, when did the IM become a thing? Did you have a medley with 3 strokes?
I don't think so.
Who says 4 is the right number?
Not me. Who made that order? Put fly last. Let's see how it goes.
200 fly in 1956 with this new technique of this like overarm. What time did it go? 200 fly, long course.
You're asking us to guess?
Yeah.
B?
3 minutes.
Much faster.
2:36.
There's no way I can do that now. No way. Can think about it. Nope, much faster.
Oh, same answer then.
2:19.
2:19.
2:19.
That's solid.
2:19
was a world record, and he did that's incredible.
Or that's the original butterfly.
Yes.
Wow. That's a hell of a fast dolphin butterfly.
All right. There was an IM of just 3 strokes until 1952.
Oh, because they had no fly.
150 individual medley as a 3-stroke medley.
Why did breaststroke get invented? How did it get invented?
No kidding. I've been wondering that for a while.
Now that we have no Justin here.
We didn't talk to Gary about this. I always heard he called it the potato sack race of swimming, but he was the first person to call it that.
That's a good name for it.
It is.
You imagine doing, all right, who would be the best 150 IMer without a fly leg?
Without a fly leg?
Without a fly leg, right.
Right? It was before fly, so who would be the best without fly? Who was a horrible IMer? Or horrible flyer, but a great IMer? I mean, there's a few breaststrokers, right?
Shanto.
No, that guy, Luca Marin, the Italian guy.
Massa Rossellini.
Yeah, Rossellini was a terrible.
Rossellini never went out fast.
George Bavell.
What?
George Bavell.
Yeah, George always went out last in the fly.
Not a good butterflyer.
There you go. You should tell George, you were born 50 years too early. He'd probably be like, I was alive 50 years ago as a caterpillar on the beach. I'm trying to think on the women's side. Maybe was Q-Course a good flyer or Katie Hoff? I don't think they were particularly great flyers.
But you have to get the breaststroke up.
Q-Course wasn't bad.
Cougars had a good fly, I think.
Yeah, Cougars had a good fly. I misspoke there. But
Stephanie Rice.
I
she
don't
seemed to be
remember.
good at everything, though.
She was
I
solid.
remember her being, but man, maybe I feel like those that are good at everything, it might be because they're bad at flying. They can just
What was the
take it for
order?
the first 50, right?
Was it back, breast, free?
I don't know. We might be getting off the what? Oh, the full length opening leg breaststroke. That's all I'm playing.
Can you imagine opening a breast?
Oh, butterfly.
Breaststroke to start. Wow.
Michael Andrew, dude.
All right, that's a new set. We're doing it.
If anyone watches this thing, you can correct us. There's got to be a lot of errors in the history of these
More
events.
people who watch this thing, please.
I don't know what swimming.org has, and I'm skimming it pretty quick, so I'm sorry for any errors.
So we're talking about the past. Should we go to the future a little bit?
Yeah, do we want to change the IM or change the distance of the pool?
So I mean, back then they had no goggles, they had no caps, they had bad distances. Now, look what I got, guys.
What do you got?
I haven't opened it yet.
All right.
All
tell
right.
So let's. I was going to unbox this at the endless pool. So we have to do a test tomorrow. But this
There's
is.
someone at the endless pool tomorrow?
I'm going to try to if you want to come.
What time?
Before 1:30.
Before 1:30.
That's what I was told. All right. So nice case.
I don't even know what that means.
Anytime before 1:30. All right. Here we go. Ready? I haven't seen it yet. I haven't opened it yet. But that's too anticlimactic. Okay, go.
We got to narrate it. What's going on?
So these are
Angled lenses.
custom fit goggles.
Put
that
them on.
I had them scan my face with 3D
Over.
imagery, and they made them just for me. So there's no
Wow.
sharing. And they're called Magic 5. And they're the same cost as the lovely Arena Elite goggles that I wear with the swipe anti-fog. You know, about $60. And I was like, heck, let me try them out. So they're meant to be just for my eye socket. You meant not to have to worry about making it super tight or leaking. And let's see what it looks like. I have no idea how it looks in the water, but
What's the brand?
Magic 5.
And how did it scan your face, or what
An
did you have to do for that?
An app. And it's
what
meant to
did
be
it do?
like, you never know the goggles are on. It's meant to be like a pair of goggles where you forgot they're on.
Yeah, you should wear them the whole day tomorrow, and see if you realize they're on.
They're very comfortable. Of course, I don't know if this is how tight it needs to be to stop water from coming in. Because right now I hardly feel it on. But I would want, if naturally I'd want my goggles to be tighter than this. But they say you don't need to have tight goggles anymore because it fits so naturally.
What about the angles of the lenses? How's your periph?
Well, I gotta take out the stickers.
Brian, did you like a lot of peripheral view on your goggles?
Loved it.
Same here. I love it. I know some hate,
That's
but
why I like those arenas.
Yeah, I still wear the angled lens arenas, but it started with the Speedo Hydra lines,
There we go.
which, yeah.
These are fantastic. In terms of clarity, I'm looking at you and I can see this screen, no problem. My peripheral, it's really flat. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, they look pretty good.
But the true test is in the water. It's very
Yep.
comfortable.
I've had a lot of goggles that I put on and then I got in the water and they were horrid. Speedo Vanquishers, I don't know how anybody ever wore those. So popular, especially with women. Can't do them. Even the speed sockets, I think that's what they're called. What are they called?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yep.
Comfortable goggle, but when I got in the water, something about the view, couldn't do it.
That's my only criticism of the foam goggles I have. You know, guys know I talk highly about the foam goggles, but there's no peripheral vision. You can only just see down the sight line here. Therefore, it's only really good for one application. I can't imagine swimming open water with them. Because open water goggles, you guys swim open water goggles, you want big fat ones that sit here and really comfortable and you can see easy, right? The foam ones don't give you that. You get disoriented. So the foam are best for endless pool at the moment. My limited use of them.
You're not going to do a race or anything in those things. I mean,
but they train open water. That's how something was training for open water, so you can track your training. And I get it. You can see the distance you've gone. But it disoriented me because no peripheral vision. There's two. The sides are too.
They're bulky. They're bulky on the sides, and they're blocked off. But no, goggles are definitely a funny one. I mean, I wore the old school foams all the way through college. I think the foam Dara Torres Speedos.
Whoa, the Speedo Sprints.
Yep, Speedo Sprints. I'd go through a pair. I'd go through like a pair a week almost because those things would just
melt,
run out. But you can ask Carlene; she'd be like, "This goddamn Recce." I used to always get a hard time from every one of those.
Did you ever have prescription goggles?
No, never prescription. I used to always wear contacts in some though, and it wasn't a big deal. So I used to get by then. But I think my junior and senior year I wore different than the Speedo Sprints. I forget what I wore. But
did you wear them around your neck, around the pool deck?
Well, I was going to bring that up. So
Doyle rules. Joe Doyle rules.
I laughed my head off. Anybody who wore that. It was always a sign when he walked on deck. And then Chad started wearing it on deck. And I was like, Chad, what are you doing, dude? And now he just owned it as his own. And that's just him. He didn't care what anybody said. And now, and when I got to meet him that one time, I can see the confidence in him. And he just made it cool. And how is that to make that cool for him, at least? For him.
I was about to say, it's still not cool.
Still not cool. But Joe Doyle used to do that. He was an Ohio State guy. He's from Ohio. I remember someone against him growing up. He used to always wear his goggles around his neck. So I don't know if Chad got it from him. I'm assuming Doyle's a little bit older than Chad.
Where's the best place for your goggles? In your suit, right? You walk your goggles, you put it in, tuck it in the back of your briefs.
Just carry it.
I don't know. I didn't do that either. But then you
carry it, right?
then you have Chalmers and doing the outside of the cap straps.
That's only for training.
The Conor Yeager move. But doing it on outside of a dome cap, a racing cap, still on the outside.
That's scary. It will slip. So I don't get it. What's the best strap to have though? The latex ones always melt. Not latex, I guess the rubber ones melt. But the arena ones have really nice quality straps that don't melt at all.
I don't know. The ones that come with their angled lens goggle are terrible now. They ship it with this round one, like a fully round, thin one. And you guys saw me break it twice the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's those.
Yeah, flat straps for sure. I don't know why
the ones that shipped with the Speedo speed sockets.
But so single straps versus double straps. Single straps were always the thing that we had when we were growing up. And all of a sudden, people started getting double straps. And Magic likes to talk about make sure you use the double straps and you have one low, one high, etc. And I mean, I've only had double straps the last 10, 15 years, but Brian, you wear single straps still.
Single straps for the win. Talk about cool.
I guess that's just to reduce the tension on one strap so it doesn't break as often.
Also, bad. One up, one down. So equal sucking. Equal sucking. That's bad for it.
Yeah, equal sucking, Luke. That's how I
said it. I was like,
Luke, you'll have to tell everyone about that promo that you sent to us last night. Brian, did you read that message? Are you reading these texts anymore?
Oh.
Nathan did a great porno.
Exactly.
Would it unslip?
I'm still waiting for that one. But anyways, the promo was good. Probably more than what we can handle.
Yeah.
Should we? I mean, it was. I mean, I thought that was an interesting promo. The reason he chose it, it always interested me. Why did Nathan choose of all the swimmers he knows, he's been around, he's contacted with, he has connections with, he's friends with, he chose Daniel. And he explained it pretty well in that promo. What do you guys think about that? The reasoning for it. I mean, Daniel is not. I mean, he won Pan Ams. He was on a junior national team, but he's not an individual NCAA champion yet. He's there, but it's interesting, right? What do you think?
Well, I'm kind of thinking back to our conversation with Shields because Tom was saying, yeah, I mean, in the comeback of Phelps, there were a number of years where the focus was just on Michael, especially with the personality that he had built up, and there were interviews and things that happened with Phelps and not with Tom, and I think some of that resonated for me in Nathan's comments, because he's talking about all the people that are getting name recognition, and rightfully so, they earned it. But I think his intent was to say, hey, here's somebody else who's kicking some ass and should be part of that conversation too. And so why not, right? And like, yeah, we're here to support that. It's talking to people that, for whatever reason, if they're if they're cool, if they're doing something interesting, doing something great, doing something in a different way, that everybody ought to know about, then let's talk to them. So yeah, plus he's stupid fast. So
yeah, I think also with Nathan, I think after hearing kind of his story at Race Club and Gary's views on him, I think Nathan realizes some of the older guys took care of him or looked out for him. And I think he's kind of keeping that in mind too, and trying to look at, all right, who's going to be the next person and how can I get them some exposure and used to, I don't know, engaging with questions and audience and things like that.
I dropped 6 years from my freshman year to my senior year in my 100 free. 6 years, 6 seconds. And Daniel's dropped 4 seconds in his 100 back from high school to his junior year. That's a pretty remarkable drop, because my 6 seconds were pretty damn slow time to okay time. His was from a decent fast time already to a super fast time. Is that a pretty significant drop, you guys would say, from 48 to 44 in 3 years? Or that would come with the maturity as well and a good program?
I think it's a big drop, especially when you consider how fast a 44 100 backstroke is. Yeah, there's several guys or a few guys that have gone 43 now. But for somebody who that was his top event, I do think that's a significant drop. I don't think it's unheard of. I guess personal experience. In the 100 free, I dropped 3 seconds in college. In the 100 back, I dropped 5, and I was an okay 100 backstroker in high school. And then was, finaled at NCAAs in the 100 back. So I think, for that event, I think it's probably on par, but it's on the good side.
John, yeah, how much did you drop in your free or your fly?
Yeah, so I dropped about 2 seconds in the 100 free, and then about a second and a half in the 100 flies. So I think 4 seconds is a pretty good drop, but like Brian said, not out of the unheard of, and especially when you look at people like Caeleb dropping seconds and things like that. You would assume at the higher end there's less room to drop, but
and Daniel had so many mistakes. Brian, you sent us some of those races today, and I got to see through those races, and it's so obvious his room for improvement. His body type, his underwaters
big time.
So his underwater's big time, and he surfaced at 12 meters for the first one, and then probably 8 and then 8s and stuff. And I get to see that he just hasn't started to break through as an elite swimmer. So I think Nathan sees that probably in practice and just knows where this kid's gonna go.
Yeah, well, also too, I think I don't want to unfairly weight underwaters. There's obviously people that are doing well by maximizing the time underwater, but I don't know that that's necessarily the end all be all for swimming fast backstroke short course. He's Pan Am champ, guys fast on top of the water. Some of the guys like that where you didn't really want them to stay underwater because they're so damn fast on the top of the water. Just get it, but it's get on top of the water before you start to slow down. So
that's the key.
Yeah, but I don't think you're wrong about trying to maximize that and get more out of underwater. I think that's probably fair. So
definitely, and yards is such an odd event now. So much is underwater. Who would have predicted Dean Ferris wins the 100 back last year? And watching it again recently, he just had such an explosive start in underwaters. And he's fine on top of the water, but that's the race, and that's a lot of these races now underwater for the yards game.
Do you guys think that NCAA should move back to? Well, they did it some before, but only on occasion during the Olympic year. But do you think NCAAs ought to just be short course meters? I mean, it's so hard because we're so committed. It's like switching costs for technology. If you part of the Apple suite, then if you want to get a Google phone, it's like, man, you're going to be the one with the green text, and then it screws up the rest of your devices. And same for bike computers and running, GPS. And but in swimming, that's kind of true for pools. There's so many yards pools in this country that for NCAAs to change, it would screw up a lot of the have-not programs.
I was going to say,
even the halves, because they were all built, at 25 yards wide, all these pools. And so it would change a lot about like pool availability and be a huge, huge uproar. But I don't know. I mean, I could see a day where the NCAA, finally moves metric.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think just like you said, pool availability and what every college has set up already and the records. I don't know. I don't want to see it personally, even though I get it and I see where you're coming from. It's just like, God, seeing some of these barriers broken with yards, and I'm sure we would appreciate it short course meters. And I think ISL made us realize a little bit more about short course meters and times and things like that. But I don't know.
I love seeing Dressel swim a 50 free short course meters, because that was my events, right? I swam short course meters in Canada, so I know what 21.2 is. I know what the world record. I know what that means, because that's what I swam all the time. I would love the opposite. Wouldn't it be amazing to have these amazing European and Australian and Canadian swimmers swimming a yard pool and see what time they can put down? What would Manitou do in a 50-yard freestyle? What would Ben Proud do in a 50-yard freestyle? I would love to see them go head-to-head in a 50-yard freestyle and what record would you set in a 50-yard pool on American? What would that record be if you win American? And you win
US Open record.
US Open record for 50-yard freestyle.
Are they beating Dressel's time, though? Are they going to break that record, though?
No way.
Well, it'd be interesting, right? It'd be interesting to see apples to apples.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd love to see it too, but I mean,
I don't think they break Dressels, but what about some of the backstroke records? I don't know. Is 43 going to stick with? Oh, PD. What is PD going to do in 100 breaststroke?
He's not that good short course.
Exactly. I'm trying to think who would be the most impressive crossover to yards.
I want to see Chad in a yards pool.
Yeah, and Chad a few years ago, God, when he went, what did he go to fly short course meters? Does he still have?
Oh, I don't know, but I remember watching that swim. Yeah,
I mean, I remember watching that thing, and God, that guy'd be at 138, 137, 200 fly yards during his prime.
I mean,
faster than that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know. Mitch Larkin maybe in a yards pool against Murphy. That'd be cool.
Have an ISL event that one of the events is a yard pool, and just see what it is for fun. Because if ISL doesn't care about times,
okay, I like that.
But they don't care about I guess we were arguing that maybe the U.S. isn't their audience, right? But I agree. I would love to see a yards. I'd love to see Sostrom do some yards events. I don't think her turns are great, but God, and we'll see. She might be on the decline a little. Some would argue it, but God, I mean, where she was at, I don't know. Her yard could be crazy.
Renomi, that'd be good. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I think Caeleb's under 19.5 short meters. I think that's what his 17.6 would be.
Yep, that's fast.
I think the world record is 22. Is it 22?
20.2. Oh, right.
20 point. I don't know to what, but 20.2.
By Manitou, right?
Yeah, I think for sure it's like under 19.
But who would have thought 17.6, right? I mean, I remember us talking about, could he go under 18? Can he go under 18? No way. He just dropped so much the year before. He's not going to go that much faster than.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Crazy.
Brian, I encourage you to listen to the Skins breakdown by Caeleb, because he talks at the end about why he's doing this and why he doesn't like social media. He's not do vlogs, but he's trying to, the reason behind him doing this.
You just say vlogs?
Vlogs. He said vlogs. I didn't say vlogs. I don't do vlogs. I'm not a vlogger.
Anyways, so what Luke is trying to say is Yeah, Caeleb was plugging his own. I forget what it's through, but it's some educational platform where he's going to be doing, I think, some live calls and mindset training and things like that. And they're like $80 a pop, I think.
No,
So,
80 for 11 courses.
11 courses. There you go. $80 for 11 courses. So I
Live.
don't know. We'll see. Another interesting model for some of these guys to make some more money. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he is doing a podcast. He's doing these YouTube videos where he looks like in control of them, maybe making a few speckles off ads, but we'll see what this makes.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool for him to be exploring other mediums besides, Cody. You don't see too many other people doing that, at least directly themselves and doing the marketing themselves, doing it individually, doing it online.
I guess Michael Andrew. He does a lot of Instagram. I know you and I aren't up to speed on that, but I know he does some.
I got an opportunity to go back over our shows because I did a little tribute to Justin, who is a big part of what the show is and how it became. And I got to look back at what we've done. This is the 55th episode we're airing. We probably recorded like almost 60. And we've seen about half of that has been guests. Looking back on over a year of doing this stuff, what's been the most memorable guest and the thing you've learned the most from a guest? And I will start off while you guys think.
Thank you.
I just asked. I don't have the answer to that. My most memorable guest was, I guess it was the first guest, which really transformed the show. I believe it was Wade Kelly, who was a Texas swimmer, Brian's good friend. And what was nice about that, it was memorable because it added a new dimension to what I love about this. It's just hanging out with making new swimming friends and learning and telling stories and just talking about swimming. And that was a really enjoyable evening. And we haven't got to do many of those in live guest shows. We did one more with Carlin Takaki, but we didn't do many more. And so I do really enjoy, even though Wade wasn't a huge swimmer, it was a quite enjoyable show. And I still have the biggest laughs remembering that show, to be quite honest.
So, well, I did cheat a little bit. Just go back and look through the full roster because I didn't want to forget anybody. I think that no, it's fair. I think I honestly had a real blast talking with somebody as wise as Mike Bottom. I think the guy just has a ton of stories and is connected in a way to a bunch of other athletes that we've spoken to, and we got to hear about him in advance and then got to chat directly with him. And, it's always just so much fun to hang out with somebody who's been around the sport for as long as he has. And I mean, there's others, right? Like, Jack Bowerly was a great guy to hang out with, or Banchek, Jack Roach, some of these guys that, at least mostly the male coaches that have been around are just so much fun to share stories with and reminisce and then get a little bit into how they think, how they apply their wisdom in their daily lives. And yeah, man, it's just a kind human. I really enjoyed that one.
One of the most shocking moments was from Mike Bottom when the first thing he said to us was that you guys are really intimidating. And I wasn't expecting that from Mike Bottom. But it was his wisdom that said that. It was because we are creating this forum where people are opening up and can be quite vulnerable. I can't pronounce it, sorry. And that thought I was very insightful and wise from what he said for what you were saying, Brian. It was, remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So probably my favorite show. I like the Mike one quite a bit just because, like you said, the stories and all that. But I think my favorite show, I don't know. I think it was the Cavich one. Just I didn't know as much about his story and his history. And God, I remember that race, and we didn't even get into the race, but it was someone that I think because I had talked to George before, even though I'm a huge fan of George. But when we got him, it was like, oh, wow, talking with this guy, a legend, someone I remember watching that race and learning about his ups and downs was really interesting. Favorite part, I think the Kathleen Baker doping thing was the funniest part for me. That was so unexpected and so, I think, true to what part of what we're trying to do with this is just kind of show the lighter side or the real side of the ins and outs. It's not just training. There's a bunch of other stuff that goes into this, and it is what it is. But I think that was fun, and I think she rolled with it well.
What's your favorite moment, Brian, or thing you learned the most, or you remember from this? I mean,
I think that we've had a few moments where we got really personal. Glenn Mills shared with us his experience, losing his brother, and was actually our first guest to talk about the 80 Olympic experience. And I think for me, the amount of history that I've gotten on a personal level and really gone in depth with just the openness that so many guests, and to be honest, in most cases, complete strangers have I guess opened up to us, that's really moved me. And, I like I said, I just scrolled through a bunch of folks and I can recount a bit of every one of those conversations where, we were talking about things outside of the pool, what's going on in their mind and their approach and their lives. And so, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that we've created these connections, and also at the same time, engaged with people in such an open way. And it's been two ways. And I think I'm really proud of just the swimming community for the openness to sharing that everyone has shown, and how great that's going to be for, giving back to teaching and being open so that future generations can learn from it.
We, your college teammates and you are going to be friends forever, because you guys, we all suffered together. We did those crazy hard sets together, and we almost went to war together. So we were like brothers and sisters and siblings for life. And because we shared such deep moments with these guests for an hour of their lives, complete strangers, like you said, I definitely do feel so much closer to them. I think that's what swimming brings to us, and that's what I've enjoyed. This show was meant to be about just a bunch of guys having a drink and talking swimming. And in doing that, we've talked about issues of race, suicide, mental health, sexual abuse, you name it. And I just my one regret, and I'm going to ask you guys what do you think we can do next, is my one regret is that A, I didn't have this when I swam, and B, I wish a lot more people can have an access to this, because there's so much out there, and I keep saying this. There's so much out there doing by other podcasts and other shows. There's almost too much, unfortunately. But I do hope that people are getting to hear some of what all of us are saying. The Bretts, the Off the Block podcast, the Swim Nudes, the Swim Suit Guy, because I do think it's going to help some kids someday, somehow, in some pool.
There you go. You heard it. But listen to ours, not those other ones. All right. Ready to leave it there, boys?